All right, Hacksters! Welcome to Hackster Café. Today's guest is Sabine Wieluch, who is someone that I got to meet not last year. I think of 2019 as last year for obvious reasons, but we got to meet at Chaos Communication Camp in Germany, and it was so exciting for me because you gave me one of your little beetle stickers, and I still have these around. Sabine is an amazing generative artist. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And you said you were so excited. I was so excited because when we met, we wrote, and I was already in bed. Like I was like, oh, Alex is writing me now. I have to stand up again. Wait, where's my stuff? Yeah, my name is Sabine, and on the web I'm better known as bleeptrack. I'm a freelance creative coder, and I do a lot of generative art stuff. And I also love to make generative art into physical things with pen plotters and CNC machines and laser cutters and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, all that stuff. We've got, for example, your website up. Everyone, of course, you can find links in the description for everything we're going to talk about. bleeptrack.de, your website, which includes tutorials, talks, and publications, and things like that. This one I haven't looked into, but more very hardware friendly. And then also your Twitter. But there's some things that especially I think would be interesting to our audience. Could you tell us a bit about your Gen Chair?
Right. So that was a project I did in 2019, right before we met at Chaos Camp. And so it's a sort of a garden lounge chair, you could say, like a very low chair. And I always wanted to build own generative furniture. And I was looking around for a pattern that I could use to like decorate the chair with. And I was thinking like, what could I use? Because you want something that doesn't make huge holes, right? Because otherwise it's hard to sit on a chair. So I dug around a bit and I came up with a paper that describes how you can simulate the growth of veins in leaves, and that sounded really interesting to me. And I think it's super similar to, I will say it wrong, space colonialization algorithm. I don't know. I think they're very similar. And you can grow that in any shape. So I didn't choose a leaf shape and instead just went with a square. And milled out all the parts on my DIY CNC machine, and that took quite a while. So that rectangular pattern part, one of those took me about 5 hours to mill.
Wow.
And then when you choose a pattern that makes such a large surface and you have to sand down everything by hand, that's also quite time intensive. And that's something I had not in mind when I started that.
Did you sand all the interior parts as well? Because that's so much surface area. Or did you just sand the parts that are sort of that people will actually come into contact with?
I sanded everything at least a bit because my DIY CNC makes a bit like fuzzy cutting edges. So I sanded everything a bit, but mostly the part what you really touch and not so much of the interior. Like I cut down my sandpaper in tiny stripes and then I could wiggle it around.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like
well.
But it paid off. It looks so cool.
Yeah, totally. And it looks quite fragile, but it's actually super sturdy because it's a 21, I'm not sure, millimeter plywood. So that's really sturdy.
Yeah, that's almost an inch thick. Did you use paper.js for this? I've been digging through some of your pages about other projects that we'll get to in a second, but I'm just curious because that's what you said that you use for lots of your projects.
Yeah, right. I use paper.js also with that project because it's like a really nice library to create vector graphics. And I started my generative stuff with processing and P5, and that's an amazing library, amazing framework. But at the time where I did this, it sort of lacked proper export for vector graphics. And I also was missing certain functions. Like if you maybe have worked with Inkscape, you have usually functions that can do Boolean operations where you like can merge shapes or cut out shapes and stuff. And this is super helpful if you do anything CNC pen plotter related. And that's why I go with paper.js.
Cool. So speaking of which, I've pulled up your frozen, what is it called? Frozen system,
Right.
snowflake PCBs, and this is so cool because not only can people order these from PCBWay, but also you can generate your own because you shared all of this stuff on GitHub. And I started watching your video on how you procedurally generate PCBs, and it's a beautiful video, and it's also really exciting. I only got about halfway through it, but I already want to dig my hands into paper.js. So what's your workflow for this?
So I use KiCad for the PCB stuff, and at first I thought like I can just maybe import SVGs directly or import some stuff, and I'm rather new to PCB design, but I very quickly figured out that importing SVGs is rather hard. At least about 1 year ago, it was quite hard. Maybe that's different now. Haven't checked yet. Then I was searching around what's the better way to import, and then I stumbled upon Inkscape plugin, which is called SVG to Shenzhen, really nice name, and that does a lot of stuff for you. So you can decide which vector graphic shape goes on which layer on the PCB, and then you can export it as footprint or as whole PCB KiCad project.
Oh, that's so
cool. Amazing. Yeah, that's such a great tool. I highly recommend using that.
I've heard about this one, but I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So how do you interact with it? Is it like so you said it's a plugin for Inkscape.
Right, so it's a plugin for Inkscape, and it has one function which sets up your project to fit the workflow. So it creates a bunch of layers for you, which resembles the copper layer or the solder mask layer and stuff. And then you can, open your already created SVG file or make a new one, whatever. And then you sort it onto the layers where you want it to go in KiCad. And then it's just export, opening KiCad, done. Super easy.
That's so cool. Oh, I've got to try this. It's really inspiring. So what was your inspiration for this project in the first place? Why did you decide to do snowflakes?
So I guess there were a lot of reasons. So I have a Patreon, and for certain Patreon tiers, I sent stuff out to people, some generative goodies, and I thought it's winter, it would be nice. And I was currently working a lot with PCB stuff, and I thought what's nice to generate? And obviously snowflakes are super generative, the most generative winter thing you can come up with.
Yeah.
And I did another PCB project before that, a generative one. I guess we'll talk about that later. And for the snowflakes, I thought it would be also interesting to generate the whole PCB shape, and not only for the other one, I only did footprints, and here I generated the whole shapes. And was super fun. And even I that, I'm not sure if my camera focused.
Wow. Look at them. And are these circuits?
It's so fun because they have no function, so it's only decorative stuff on these ones. But it's so fun to play with the different layers because, of course, you have the copper layer. You can decide maybe you want to have gold on it, super fancy, or not, something else. Of course, you can choose the solder mask layer, but also you can. Let's see if that comes through the camera. Sort of. When you can decide to not have the solder mask coating at all, so you get only the fiberglass yellowish thing, or you can decide on where you want to leave the copper on the board or put it away, so you have a relief structure on top of the PCB. You can play a lot with the different combinations, what shape to put on which layer, and that's the cool thing of PCB art. You can do so much crazy stuff.
So let's see. In the first layer, the generative stuff, you're using processing to create the structures?
It's also paper.js.
Oh, okay. And then you use... sorry. And then you export it from there into Inkscape, and then you use SVG Descendgen from the plugin in Inkscape to export it for KiCad?
Yeah, exactly. So paper.js makes an SVG. I open the... currently my code... you can also find it on GitHub. My code currently already creates SVGs that perfectly match the SVG to Shenzhen workflow. So you don't have to sort all the layer. The generative stuff already sorts the layers for you where it should go. And so basically I just I export my SVG, I open it up in Inkscape and just press export again to make it compatible with KiCad. I guess I could automate that more, but currently it's manual hitting export 2 times.
That's not too bad. I am reminded by someone in the comments that it's KiCad, and I have a habit of saying
I already
KiCad, but
said
it's
wrong. Yeah, right.
totally. Cool. We're all learning. So yeah, you've got this whole YouTube channel, not just this one about the frozen system, which is a really gorgeous video. Everyone should watch it, even if you're not interested in doing this yourself. It's just a pretty piece of art. And then there's you have like is it a weekly or a bi-weekly show called Work in Progress, WIP?
Right. I try to do it bi-weekly since 21. I really suck at doing it regularly because I started doing creative coding full time. So my whole life is shifting a bit. What my time schedules are shifting a bit. But yeah, I try to make them more regular now. And yeah, I do the work in progress for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now about. And before that, I did a lot of educational computer science videos for students. But in German, so maybe that's not super interesting for everyone.
But you also have videos on this PicoPlanet project. Oh, this is so gorgeous. And I have to show people this, obviously. No, go away, advertisements. No! Okay, well, we'll just take a look. This was actually covered on Hackster a while ago on our blog, but you can get them on Tindie from time to time. It looks like right now there's a wait list for the next batch. You're doing these in batches of 10, is that right?
I usually order batches of about 50 with 5 different designs. So basically they are limited editions because that's the nice thing about generative stuff. So each batch has brings new designs, and each design exists 10 times because like making a lower number makes no sense in producing PCBs. That's a problem. So yeah, 10 per design and about 50 per batch. So the next ones should arrive in 1 or 2 weeks at least, I hope. Depends a bit on how long the import and text process takes. Sometimes that takes quite long.
All right, so folks, you have like a week or two to get on the wait list for these, and then you'll be able to order the next batch. Oh, this is so exciting. So what is this? What does it do?
So it's a tiny generative PCB, and you can see the 3 planets, and they act as capacitive touch buttons. So it acts like a super tiny keyboard. You can connect it via USB-C to your PC and program it with either Arduino IDE or CircuitPython, whatever fits best to your needs. And it also has one tiny RGB LED next to the USB port, and on the backside you have also some pins if you want to add like different stuff to it.
Is this also manufactured by PCBWay? I'm really curious about your process here.
Nope, it's manufactured by MakerFabs. They were recommended to me, and have perfect workflow. They were very kind to me because I'm so new to PCB manufacturing, and I had like a lot of dumb questions, I guess. And like the generative process is also, I guess, new to them and maybe a bit of a weird idea. So we had to discuss a bit on how to handle that, and is the stencil the same for every PCB, or does it also change and stuff? So they were super kind and very helpful, and luckily I designed it in a way that the stencil stays the same, because otherwise they would have to make a new stencil for each 10 PCBs.
So is it that the planets themselves are procedurally generated, but maybe each one has like contacts that end up in the same place at the top of the board?
Exactly. So the contacts stay the same, and the wires for the connection of the planet stay the same. Yeah, and as you can see, the top is exactly identical for each one.
And did you say what the controller is on here?
It's an SAMD21, so quite powerful, and good match for CircuitPython. This was also one of the first CircuitPython boards for me, because I started with Arduino, and I also teach Arduino coding at university a bit at least. And so CircuitPython was new to me, and it's so much fun. If you have never tried it, really do it. It's so cool and so quick and easy to set up. Really like it.
Yeah, I love about CircuitPython that you can you don't have to the process is so simple because in one on the one hand it's stored on the board, so if you find an old project, then you can just like plug it in and already like be able to
Right.
just like tweak one thing or whatever, and you don't have to know what computer it was on back in the day or whatever. And it's really easy to get it uploaded and stuff. Oh, it's so good. But I haven't done much
So
with
good.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, so fun. Also, I was like a bit of mind blown. I have a really nice board for it, which is called Serpente, a very,
Oh,
very
yeah.
tiny board. And when you code on it and you like make an error, the color, the RGB LED will light up in different colors depending on the error that is thrown. That's so cool. Like, oh, it's red, like, it's a syntax error. Oh, it's yellow, like, oh, it's a whatever, a different error.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's so much fun.
It's really good. I've seen it on some of the Gemma M0 boards from Adafruit, who are the
Hmm.
creators of CircuitPython, of course. It's like a fork of MicroPython. I haven't quite learned what the differences are between CircuitPython and MicroPython, but it seems like a good thing to know. Oh, this
I'm
is so
also not
cool. So this is
100% certain, but yeah, I think Adafruit, like the CircuitPython, is the Adafruit fork, right? As far
yeah,
as I
yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh, this is so cool. So is this then the first PCB that you ever designed?
Yes.
No way! Your first PCB
So,
was like a
yeah.
generative art project as well. That's ridiculous. That's way too cool.
But I have to say that I had so much help from friends in the maker community. I'm in a really nice like YouTuber maker Discord, and there were so many helpful people who showed me everything because like yeah, I'm a total noob. Like I'm good at generative stuff, but I had no clue about PCB design. And the thing I had in mind was I want to make a tiny keyboard thingy, and everything else I had to work out. And yeah, I had so much help. And that's the nice thing about the maker community, right? That you can
Yeah.
get help from so many cool people.
And it's funny because there is this like whole DIY keyboard community that's really becoming a thing right now, but with like physical keys. And you kind of made a macro keyboard, but with capacitive touch buttons. Oh, are
Yeah, I
you?
think the mechanical keyboard fans will hate me.
Nah, no one
No
ever
clicky
hates it.
sound.
Depends on how long your nails are, I guess. Um,
Right.
are you using this for anything in your home setup?
Yeah, I use it usually. I don't have one connected here, but I usually use it for either OBS controlling for
Ah,
streaming where I can switch stuff, or I mean, we have Corona and everyone's doing home office and Zoom calls and whatnot. It's a nice tool for muting
yeah.
or shutting off the video. Yeah.
Especially if you can program that RGB LED to show you when you are actually muted. Honestly, that would be an incredibly
Right.
useful thing for me is just to like know when I'm muted because like you see so many
Exactly.
fails from people just being like, oh, you thought you were off, but you weren't. Danger zone.
That's
Yeah,
the pain of 2020 and 21, I guess.
yeah.
The muting pain.
You have other things that people can generate as well. So people can generate their own frozen system snowflakes. They can generate their own PicoPlanet boards. Of course, you would have to sort of buy all the components and stuff, right? And this repo seems to be more about how to use it once you have it. I'm in dark mode
Yeah,
and it's hiding a
exactly.
bunch of your stuff.
But yeah, the generator is online, but I think and the schematics are online, but I think what's currently missing is a KiCad project file. But I can, as if someone really wants to generate a whole board, I can upload that. That's no problem. I can give that also out. But yeah,
Mm,
that's the generator just does the like the designy part.
I cannot wait to waste so much time on this. It's not wasting though. It's yeah. You've got a
I
bunch
think
of
the
other
generator
projects.
also has a second version, right? Because at first I also tried to order some from
Ooh,
Oshpark with that
After Dark.
After Dark version.
Yeah.
It's also nice.
Wow.
But for production, they would have cost so much more. That's why I went with the blue regular ones. But I can maybe hint here that the next batch will also have black ones, but not in the After Dark
Ooh.
style, but at least with black solar mask.
Oh, that's good to know.
Secret
Yeah,
information.
the blue colorway is really pretty though, what you've got going on there. So for this one with the After Dark, did you I noticed that on the blue ones, let's take a look at this. There's clearly like a copper layer underneath the solder mask doing these like wavy lines and stuff.
Right.
But on After Dark, did you make that just into a solder mask pattern? It looks like it's a matte and gloss black.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I can hold both as a comparison in camera. That's exactly what's happening here. So for the blue one, you have the copper below the solder mask to make that pattern.
Ooh, yeah.
And for the After Dark one, I cut them out of the solder mask, basically.
Cool. And
also, yeah.
Whew, would I be able to see these on your Instagram? Are there photos of these?
On the Instagram is also the nice photo with where I hold them against the light. It looks super cool when you shine light from behind from the blue ones. They look really fancy. Not sure, I guess where's the photo?
Well, I think that people can go find this on their own. I won't.
Here we go. One, yeah, exactly.
Yes,
that's the one.
That does look really fancy. Oh wow. This is just a treasure trove. I feel like each one of these I want to jump into here. You've got your schnipsel, which are your sort of daily little drawings.
Exactly.
And then, oh yeah, the bugs. So your beetle bot is super cute. If people want, they can also go create their own little beetles, like this little sticker that you actually gave me a bunch of these, but I've given all the rest of them away. I kept my favorite one. And not only can you generate your own beetle here, what, but you can also make it wiggle.
Right.
Which apparently, this was a pull request that someone submitted.
Yeah, exactly. That was, I think, one of the only pull requests I got so far on that project, and it was like, I'm adding a wiggle function, and it's so cute.
If I reload, I get it totally. Oh, this is my favorite.
Oh, that's a nice
this is
blue
perfect.
one.
Yeah, I feel like we're friends now.
You could hit the t-shirt, sweatshirt, whatever button that lets you print it on via Spreadshirt on on clothes, but sadly it takes forever because the back end is it's a bit hacky, I'd say. So I guess it takes about I'm writing 30 seconds. It might even take longer sometimes. It's really bad. But it will end up to open a Spreadshirt, Spreadshirt shop.
Cool.
So if you want to design your favorite bug, you can order it from there.
I might, honestly. This is really cool looking. Oh, and it's in German.
Yeah, I guess it will order from the European Spreadshirt. I can't really decide on which it will send it to. They have very different endpoints, sadly.
But if you're confused at all, you can open it in Chrome and translate it. But it's also really self-explanatory here. Super good.
I hope so, yeah.
So you're a freelancer. You do generative art as a freelancer. What kinds of things does that include? Obviously, you've got these PCBs, you've got the Beetlebot and stuff, and you've also got this one that is directed at the government because they said that they were going to give a stipend to artists, and then they didn't, or something.
Yeah, that's like the Southern German Bavarian government promised in October to give out a scholarship, sort of Corona help scholarships to newcomer artists, and they already screwed up a lot about their artist help program, and because you need to be a complete freelancer and do art, and most of artists are not complete freelancers. They have like a little job where they teach or something, so they don't fall in a category where they could access that help fund. Oh God. And that scholarship sounded really good because it was meant for newcomer artists. You didn't have to be freelancer. It sounded perfect. And they announced that in October, and then silence.
Nothing at all.
And I got really angry. Because they just did nothing. They promised it, got the applause of people. Yeah, you're supporting artists, and then nothing happens. And then I thought, like, I need to do some generative thing, and I came up with a piece. If you hold it from far away, it looks a bit like white noise. If you look close, it's a lot of angry fingers.
That's hilarious.
And I plotted these with the pen plot, and I also made, I don't know if we have some here, maybe All right. And I also went with like colorful stickers and stuff. And well, now they actually you can apply for the scholarship, but it still takes forever. I applied a month ago and I still haven't heard back. It's like it's such a screwed up system, but well, yeah. Angry fingers for angry artists or angry people. Everyone, make your own fingers. I made them into a website.
It's very expressive, and it's like a great way to take that frustration and turn it into art. I think, like, because you got a
Totally.
bunch of coverage out of it as well, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, German's local newspaper made a little, actually a rather big article. Yeah,
I wonder if that's part of what pushed them to actually go through with it recently.
it would be interesting, but I guess I'm too tiny here that they figured it out. I don't know.
So at the same time, you are doing t-shirts. You've got your Patreon. How else do you mind if I ask how you support yourself? I'm really curious
No,
because we
sure.
have people who
Mhm.
want to do their own small
Mhm.
business as a maker or technologist or just in general. And yeah.
So it's a lot of different stuff that I do. As you said, like there's the one part that is sort of how to say provision or like ads from YouTube videos. That's a one
Mm.
part, and also Patreon. So it's like let's say tiny support from different stuff. Of course, I also sell some art, and I usually sell them as pay what you want. So that's prices are quite different. But to me, it's important that you can afford art, right? Art should be for everyone, and I don't know, $20 can be like nothing for one person and a huge amount for another person. So I usually sell them as pay what you want. Yeah, the Patreon and oh well, yeah, that shop is so crowded from the bugs because some of the when you click on order a shirt, they will end up in the shop. I have never figured out how I
Oh,
can
hey, I think I
delete
just
it.
saw the one
So
that we made.
I guess so. Yeah, the website is also currently under reconstruction. So I hope in the next few weeks I will have a nicer one with a nicer shop and stuff.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, then the other big part is I do a lot of teaching at my university currently, and at another what's it called? It's not a university, but similar level of education in Germany, where it's more on art and design stuff. I do a lot of teaching there, and then I do workshops or talks, and that's the other big part. And then I also, of course, as an artist, I apply for like exhibitions or projects where you can, where they search for artists. And yeah, sometimes they choose me. And currently, I'm working on a project for a local museum where I will do a generative visualization of LoRaWAN
Oh,
plant
cool.
sensors in our city. So looking forward to that. But I guess it will be publicly visible in June, sometime in June.
Whoa. Could you tell us a bit about that project?
Yeah, so in our hack space, we have a large plant garden where our LoRaWAN TTN group is building a lot of funky sensors, like how much water is there, how much sun is shining, how much nutrition is in the soil and stuff. And I can grab that sensor information from their API. And we also have at our university botanical garden, we also have some of these sensors. They can gather all that information, and then people will be able to stand in front of a big monitor or a projector or something. And with PostNet, it's a nice neural net framework, I can grab the position of the person, or like the skeleton. And from that skeleton data and the sensor data, I will make funky patterns, and the people can directly influence it with their position. And the sensor data will indirectly influence the shapes that will emerge.
It's like a human-plant collaboration.
Exactly, yeah.
That's so cool. Is there a place that we could follow and see when this goes live?
I
guess.
think best part would be Twitter or Instagram, because I will post with that. There's currently no website from the museum because I think they will start to announce it sometime in the next week or something. There's nothing up yet, yeah.
Solid. Oh, yeah, and also, you've done, for example, some of these generative arts for like Chaos Communication Congress, which I've never made it to, but it looks like there's lots of cool art stuff going on there. You made a generator for the rocket ships that were on the the camp badge where we were. Did you generate the rockets that were on the PCB, or was it like an inspired kind of thing?
That was basically inspired. So the rockets were the main design that was published by the design team, and I thought like, the rockets are awesome. I can make generators out of that, and I also made a generator for 35C3, I guess. It was the one with the schematic design, and that was the first generator that I made for CCC. And that blew up unexpectedly. A lot of people were using that, and so that's how I came to make generators for the Chaos Communication Congress stuff. And for 3063, I was also the person responsible for the whole event design. So I could make a whole generative event design, which was exciting and exhausting and crazy. Like when you make a generative design, so everyone will use it in some crazy way, or will handle your generator, and then you come to Leipzig at that big conference venue, and like your design is everywhere. Thousands of people are wearing shirts you made. It's like, God, crazy.
Amazing. Speaking of generative things, I'm not sure how much this is related to what you're doing in your art specifically, but generative art, generative adversarial networks, I don't know if there's a connection there, but you've done this paper on dropout induced noise for co-creative GAN systems, and since we have people who are very interested in machine learning, I'd be curious to hear what you would say this paper is about and what the sort of conclusion is.
So that was my first paper in my current PhD position, and so the idea was I was playing around with GANs. So these are neural networks that can generate pixel images, and I found the neural networks especially interesting that are like cycle GAN or style GAN that can do style transfer and stuff. And I was playing around with that and found it interesting that if you use a certain part of that neural network, which is called dropout, which basically like it switches off certain parts of your neural network, so it won't overtrain. That's a thing that you usually do in training. You usually shut it off when you create images, so it's only used for training. But by accident, I left it on when I generated stuff, and I was like, oh, that's interesting stuff, because you get different images. This is something you from the same input you get different images. This is usually something you would not have, but of course dropout and uses some randomness, but you still get coherent images. Yeah, like it's super funky because like when you generate stuff, and in that example in that paper I used it on a data set with house facades. Or at least it was a very popular data set. So you have like rectangles set up for the windows and for the doors and for whatnot. And you get coherent images. That's super interesting. And like from the same input. And that is something that was rather new to me, and the paper was accepted. So I guess it was also at least a bit new to other people. And that's one example. So the left one is like the input image. So it says like, the task for the neural net is basically fill in blank spaces, like make more windows into that house. As you can see, you get sort of coherent images. So it either makes like two windows or a big window or like a door or whatnot. And only on the very left one, you can see that there's like that tiny fragment of that purple window part. That is, you might consider not so much coherent, but it still fits. So so to me it was interesting to have like that a bit of generative variety in that usually very straightforward generation process.
That's so cool. So you're sort of introducing more oh my goodness, what's the word, like entropy in order to Yeah, that's so cool. And does co-creative mean like human and machine like creating something together? Is that what that means, or is that something else?
Yeah, because it was so my research focus is on co-creativity, or like the big bubble I'm in is the computational creativity part, and I'm very focused on co-creativity. So humans and machines work together to either like create stuff together, or the machine is more on the supportive part, and then it's more a creativity support tool. And so it was meant for a creativity, so the setting is more a co-creative space for the paper. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And you had a presentation that you might share.
Oh, right. Right.
Oh, here. I think it's my job.
So that's stuff that I'm currently working on. So I switched from pixel-based images to vector graphics because I love pen pluggers and I want to do stuff.
Yeah.
And so currently I'm in the process of developing neural networks that are meant for artists, mostly as support tools. And in this case, you can see like the blue drawings. These are like the template images that a user or an artist draws. And the neural network is only trained on that very single image. And this is a thing that is, because if you're an artist and work with machine learning, you usually have to collect that huge data sets. It's either impossible or exhausting or cost intensive or whatever. So you want to have only tiny data sets. And this is why I chose to create a one-shot training method that only uses one image. And you can see like the black ones on the bottom are new images that the neural network creates from that input image. And out of this creation process, I made some tools. Like this one is an autocomplete tool. So you start a stroke and it finishes your stroke depending on like that input image that you chose. And in this case, on the right side, you can see these two images you can currently choose from. I only had two pre-trained versions for that one. So yeah, you can start strokes, or you can also use it like stamps. So you can just click somewhere and it will draw a new shape in that place depending on the next closest stroke that it can find. And the last tool that I did is this one. That's very similar to the autocomplete one. It just it also completes, but it gives you a bit of a decision space where you can say how that stroke should continue. But I made a little user study and some evaluation, and that tool was not liked so much because like the suggestions are very similar. So it doesn't make too much sense, and the autocomplete tool was used way more, obviously. But yeah. That's how science is.
If you're training it on a single image, does that mean that you're using this dropout sort of mutation type system to create the randomness that you're using to get
not
different
in
images
this one.
rather than just okay.
Yeah, not in this one. It would be super cool to combine this one day. This is something I haven't tried yet. Mainly because these two types of neural networks are rather different, because vector graphics are so different to handle, right? Because like you don't have pixels, you have shapes that are like Bezier curves and stuff. So for the vector graphic stuff, I use transformers. That's what the neural nets are called. They are usually used for natural language processing. I think GPT-2 or GPT-3 are very popular projects that use transformers. So I use stroke sequences, and it's a bit like turtle graphics, right? Where you have a virtual pen that is moving and it's either drawing or not. And these little movements, they build my sequence, and this drawing sequence then I can feed into the transformer, and it makes fancy stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't imagine like or rather, I can't imagine like feeding it some things from the Baroque period or whatever and have it create paisleys or things like that. Or bandanas. Oh, I want to make a generative bandana now. This is a problem.
Cool, yeah.
I can't talk to you for too long or my head's going to explode. So speaking of collaborating with machines, you've done stuff with the AxiDraw as well. We recently had on Hackster Café Lenore Edmond of Evil Mad Scientist Labs, who create the AxiDraw. And we were talking about Plotter People, which is sort of a community for people who are making art with pen plotters, including the AxiDraw, which is basically like it's a little XY gantry that you can control with Inkscape, or you can control it from other systems as well. I think, right? Processing? Can you do it from processing?
I think so. And there's also a tool called Saxi, which is a web server tool to control. And that's also awesome because it has very nice path optimization. So the drawings take way less time.
Ooh, nice. And how did you get into this?
I think I saw a YouTube video from AxiDraw, and I guess it was like going viral on Reddit or something. I don't know. I saw that and I was like, oh, what a cool machine. I want to have one. And then I checked like, oops, it's a US company. I'm in Germany. Importing is hard and stuff. Nah, I'm not sure. And then I don't know, half a year later, something, I was scrolling through my local Kleinanzeigen, like Craigslist, where you can buy used stuff. And there was an AxiDraw. And I was like, what? this is my lucky moment. I need to buy that. And I did it. And it was like, I don't think the person before ever used it, or used it maybe once. I don't know. It was basically brand new. And yeah, he already did the importing. And I think after some more research, I could have bought it in somewhere in Europe. There are European resellers. It's actually not that hard to get one. But the used one was a bit cheaper for me, so happy with that. And yeah, since then I'm a big AxiDraw fan.
It sounds like such a pain to deal with the import stuff. I'm so glad that you got one. Yeah. So what's coming up for you? You've got this art project with the LoRaWAN connected plant art collaboration with people. Any other stuff that we should watch out for?
There's one thing that I have in mind, and I hope I can find time this year to do it. So there's one thing where I had a university project with some friends where we did clothing parts, or like, is it bracelet when you have it on your hand? I'm not sure. Like stuff with actuators in it. Like we had PT elements and vibration motors and servos that could poke you a bit. And it was connected to a smartphone app, and you could map information on it to give like a sixth sense of whatever you wanted, basically.
That's really cool.
I still like that idea still is in my mind somehow. And like now, 8 years later, I think I have way more hardware knowledge to make this even better. And I'd still love to have like a necklace thingy that has some interesting actuators, like a linear motor or something, and it vibrates in patterns depending on how much people are on my website, or something that you totally have no connection to, like some digital information. And I'd love to have one device that just gives me a sense of my online personality and what's going on with my online persona. That would be awesome. Yeah, but not sure if I can find enough time, but I hope so.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do something similar like that, but with lights, so that when we're on video, then it can like show up for people.
Oh yeah, right.
It kind of reminds me of the North Pole, which was designed to give people a sense of direction with haptic motors. But you know, this was ages ago, and you know that people have been building all kinds of stuff like that. I love the idea of like an arm warmer style haptic interface. That's so cool. Would you have it be like an expressive thing as well, like broadcasting to the world, or just like inputting sensory data to you?
I think my main focus is just input for me, but I guess it would be also nice to have outside also exposure in some sort of way. I'm sure with light or something. I think it would be fun to walk around a big conference like Chaos Communication Congress, and when people, I don't know, follow you on Twitter, something lights up.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
I'm gonna stop. There's too many ideas like bouncing around. That's super cool. Well, I can't wait to see what you come up with next. We've got, of course, your links in the description. Everyone can follow you on Twitter and Instagram and GitHub, and go to your website. GitHub is just fascinating. There's all kinds of different projects that you have up here, stuff for the generative bugs. This scribble plot thing, which is for the AxiDraw. I'm getting sidelined again, but we got to drop this in here because it's for a robot. And how do you make something like this, like a controlling mechanism for the AxiDraw? How does it interact with the robot?
So, well, I think I'm not doing much of the controlling, to be honest, because I mainly generate this like scribble plot works with processing. That was one of the very first stuff I wrote for AxiDraw. So it generates PDFs, and you can
then you feed that into it.
Yeah, exactly. But if someone of the viewers is super interested into plotting stuff, maybe check out the hashtag Plotter Twitter. There are so many cool people and so many crazy ideas. And I think that's also where I connected with lots of people.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place. Oh, anything else you'd like to throw in there before we wrap up?
Not really. Follow me on any social media. You can find me. And I hope to make more crazy stuff this year in the upcoming future.
I can't wait to see it. Oh, thank you so much for joining us. This is so good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I hope to see you again, maybe at a camp someday soon.
Yeah.
Thanks
That would be
everyone for
cool.
joining. All right, we'll see
Thanks.
you.